Welcome to MLS English Podcast, the show where English learning meets mindset growth. Whether you're here to boost your vocabulary, speak with confidence, or build a strong, unstoppable mindset, you're absolutely in the perfect place. Get ready for some powerful tips, real conversations, and high energy that will really move you forward. This is more than just a podcast. This is your new routine for success. Today, we're diving deep into something absolutely fundamental. It's the undeniable power of consistency. And this applies whether you're learning English, maybe building a business, or honestly, even just trying to get out of bed on time consistently. It really is the key that unlocks pretty much everything.
It really is. And, forcing consistency, that's not really the way. It's often not easy, definitely not glamorous, but it is incredibly powerful. It's like the one habit that kind of builds every other habit. But we're not talking about punishment like discipline here. It's more the kind that transforms you sort of quietly behind the scenes until one day you just suddenly realize, whoa, hang on, I've changed.
Exactly. That shift from constantly struggling, wrestling with yourself, to becoming someone who just does it without all the drama, without needing that constant hit of motivation. Because let's be honest, motivation disappears, right?
It absolutely does.
But consistency, that becomes your superpower.
Mm-hmm. So the goal of this deep dive today is really to unpack how you build that consistency, especially, on those days you really, really don't want to. And we'll be sprinkling in some micro tips specifically for English learners all the way through.
Okay, great. So first, big idea. Stop waiting for motivation. Build systems instead. I think most people maybe subconsciously wait for motivation like it's some kind of, magical weather pattern. Oh, I'll start when I feel ready, or I'll study when I'm in the mood. But that mood, it rarely shows up on schedule, does it?
No, it really doesn't. Someone described motivation like trying to get Wi-Fi in the desert. It's unreliable and often super frustrating when you need. What actually works, what really makes the difference, is building simple routines.
Yeah.
Things that run on autopilot, like brushing your teeth. You don't really think about it. You just do it.
Yeah, exactly. I've found that myself. I set this fixed time, just 10 minutes every morning during breakfast, to shadow English podcasts. And after a little while, that little ritual, it just became automatic. No thought required, just press play. The real magic, I think, is stopping that self-negotiation. Am I tired? Do I have time? The system just runs no matter how you feel.
Right. So here's a challenge, especially for you English learners listening.
Mm-hmm.
Try saying just 2 or 3 sentences out loud every single day. Even when you're tired, even when you don't feel like it, don't wait for the mood. Just build the muscle. Start that system.
Build the muscle. I like that. Which leads perfectly into our next point, seeing consistency as a muscle, something that grows slowly. It's definitely not a switch you can just flick on, is it?
Not at all. I had this realization myself. Consistency isn't about one, massive life-changing push. It's really about the small act of showing up, especially when you don't want to. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier to practice speaking, even though the bed feels amazing. Oh. Or giving up that endless Instagram scroll to prep a few English phrases for the day. It feels uncomfortable at first, definitely. But then, slowly, you start becoming that person, the one who just gets stuff done. Mm-hmm. And those little acts, those reps, as you call them, they actually start rewiring your identity, don't they?
They absolutely do. It's like you're training your brain. So here's a micro tip. Pick a time of day when you know you're usually weakest. Maybe it's late evening or that post-lunch slump. And just commit to one tiny English task for 5 minutes then. Think of it as your discipline gym. The only goal is to show up. Just do those 5 minutes. The discipline gym. Love it. Okay, so how do we make showing up easier? Our next point reveals a kind of secret weapon. Linking habits to existing actions. Using triggers. Making consistency almost automatic, like tying your shoelaces before you go for a run. The first action triggers the second.
Exactly. I started doing this after I brew my morning tea, which I do every single day without fail. I immediately grab a little notebook, and I just write one sentence in English about what I hope to achieve that day. The tea making becomes the trigger for the writing. No thought involved anymore.
That's great. Another example I use. Whenever I go for a walk, even if it's just 5 minutes to the shop, I listen to an English podcast. The act of walking triggers the listening habit. It takes away the thinking, the chance to skip it.
Mm-hmm. So, the challenge for you listening, pick one thing you already do every single day. Brushing your teeth, pouring coffee, switching off your alarm. And attach just 5 minutes of English practice right onto it. Make it small, make it simple, make it linked. Then consistency stops depending so much on willpower.
Right, because the trigger does the heavy lifting. Okay, next point. This one might feel a bit counterintuitive. Embrace the boring. There's this common misunderstanding, isn't there, that progress has to feel exciting or dramatic all the time. But often, the real gold is in the boring part.
Absolutely. Real progress is often super repetitive, almost dull sometimes. Like repeating the same phrases until they stick, listening to the same podcast episode twice to really get it, writing the same tricky word 10 times. I like comparing it to watering a plant. You water it every day, but you don't see it shoot up instantly, right? But you definitely notice if you stop watering it. Consistency doesn't always feel like a massive breakthrough, but it's quietly building those strong roots.
So true. So if you're learning English, don't get discouraged if your daily practice feels a bit plain sometimes. That's actually a good sign. It means it's becoming a normal part of your life, not some huge effort.
Exactly. And a simple tip here. Start tracking your boring wins. Seriously, just write down every small action. Spoke English for 3 minutes, read one paragraph, listened while cooking. These little ticks, these small wins, they add up and build fluency over time. You see the progress, even if it felt boring doing it.
Seeing the proof. Yeah, that's powerful. Okay, how about outsmarting our own lazy selves? Our next idea is using micro rules. Think of them as secret weapons.
Yeah, they're like little contracts you make with yourself. They take the thinking, the negotiation right out of it. For instance, maybe you make a rule. No social media until I've done my English journaling, or I can only play video games after I've written down 5 new English phrases. Sort of gamifies discipline, makes it less of a drag.
And the key is they're small. They're personal rules. They protect your consistency from distractions. The rule decides for you, which totally eliminates that daily battle of wills, that decision fatigue we all get. Spot on. So here's a challenge. Create your own micro rule. Just one to start. Maybe something like, no Netflix unless I use English subtitles and write down 3 new expressions. Or no coffee until I've practiced speaking for just 60 seconds. Make it kind of fun if you can, but definitely make it non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable, that's the key. But, okay, let's be real. Even with triggers and rules, some days are just heavy. You're tired, unmotivated, maybe sick, stressed out. Life happens. This is where planning for those bad days is an absolute lifesaver.
Yes. And the crucial thing to understand is that bad days aren't the enemy. Doing nothing on those days, that's the enemy of consistency. Consistency doesn't mean hitting 100% every single day. It just means showing up somehow. My own bare minimum on really tough days might be like listening to just 2 minutes of English audio while I brush my teeth, or reading one single sentence online before bed. It sounds tiny, maybe pointless, but these tiny actions keep the streak alive. They keep the engine idling.
And that mindset shift is so powerful. I'm not quitting. I'm just adjusting for today. You keep the promise to yourself, even in a small way. Exactly. So my advice to everyone listening, decide your bare minimum now before you need it. Something so small, so laughably easy, you could practically do it half asleep. Because having that plan B keeps the fire alive when those hard days inevitably hit. Consistency, fundamentally, is about refusing to disappear completely.
Refusing to disappear. Wow. Okay, this brings us to perhaps the most important idea of all. Consistency becomes truly easy, almost effortless, when it becomes part of your identity. It stops being about forcing yourself and starts being about, well, becoming.
Yes, it's a huge shift. It's moving from asking, okay, what should I do today, to just knowing this is who I am. Like for me, I don't really write podcast scripts anymore because I force myself. I do it because, well, I'm someone who creates content. It's just part of my identity now.
Right. And related to English, it's the difference between saying, oh, I'm trying to learn English versus saying, I am an English speaker and I'm still improving. That identity shift changes everything, doesn't it? It changes how you approach the actions.
It absolutely does. Think about I'm trying to read more versus I am a reader. If you identify as a reader, then picking up a book feels natural. It aligns with who you are. The actions support the identity.
So the challenge for you listening is this. Start telling yourself the story you want to live. Really consciously narrate it. Say it out loud, write it down. I'm the kind of person who practices English every day, even if it's just for 5 minutes. And when distractions hit, or laziness creeps in, or doubts surface, come back to that identity, not your fleeting feelings. Let that be your anchor.
Because that's where real, sustainable consistency is built. Quietly, day by day, by becoming, not by constant forcing. You don't need to be perfect. You really don't. You just need to be the kind of person who keeps showing up.
And you know what? Just by listening to this deep dive today, you have shown up. You've shown up for your learning, for your growth. That counts.
Absolutely. That itself is an act of consistency.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's quickly break down some of the key English words and phrases we use today, just to help you sound even more natural and confident.
Great idea. First up was glamorous. This means something looks really exciting, beautiful, or fancy, maybe on the outside, but the reality might be different. For example, you might say, working on a film set seemed glamorous, but honestly, it was mostly just long hours and hard work.
Right, not always what it seems. Okay, next. Sneaks up on you.
Yeah. This is when something happens slowly or quietly, and then suddenly, bang, it's there and you notice it. Like the deadline totally sneaked up on me and I wasn't ready at all. It implies you weren't fully aware it was approaching so fast.
Happens to the best of us. How about autopilot?
Autopilot is when you do something automatically without really thinking consciously about it.
Yeah.
It's become a routine. Like he was so tired he made his morning coffee completely on autopilot.
Just going through the motions. Then there was negotiate with yourself.
Yeah, this is that internal debate you have, right?
Yeah.
Should I do it? Shouldn't I? I'm tired. That back and forth in your head. For instance, she kept negotiating with herself about whether she should actually start studying or just watch another video.
That internal struggle. Okay, flip a switch.
This phrase means trying to change something instantly, like turning on a light. But usually the thing you're trying to change, like a feeling or a habit, actually takes time. So you might say you can't just flip a switch and suddenly feel motivated. It often builds gradually.
Good one. Next, trigger. We talked about this a lot in habit building.
Right. So in this context, a trigger is a specific cue, maybe an action, a time of day, a place that prompts your brain to start a particular habit or routine. Like we discussed, hearing the kettle boil was her trigger to grab her journal and write her daily sentence.
It sets off the habit. What about gamifying?
Gamifying is basically turning a task or a process into a game, often by adding points, rules, or rewards to make it more fun or engaging. Like the example, he gamified his workouts by giving himself points for every session he completed. Makes it less of a chore.
Makes sense. And bare minimum.
The bare minimum is the absolute smallest amount of effort or work you can do on something that still counts as making progress or keeping the habit alive, especially for tough days. For example, on her really busy days, she just did the bare minimum for her English practice, reviewing one single flashcard.
Just keeping the streak alive. Lastly, show up for yourself.
This one's more about mindset. Showing up for yourself means keeping the promises you make to yourself, doing what you said you would do even when it's hard, even when no one else is watching. It's about self-respect and commitment. Like, he really didn't feel like practicing his presentation, but he did it anyway. He really showed up for himself.
Powerful concept.
And again, just by listening today, you are showing up for your English and for yourself, so well done.
Absolutely. Well done. That's a wrap for today's episode on MLS English Podcast. If you enjoyed it, and we really hope you did, make sure to subscribe, maybe leave us a review. We love reading those. And share this episode with someone you know who's serious about growing, both in English and in life. Keep practicing, keep pushing, keep showing up, and we'll see you in the next one. Let's grow together.